Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. It is I. We are not gaming. Not right now. Oh, hey! How are you? Good to see you. What a pleasure. Yes, of course. Yeah, no worries. Oh, I see. No, you're fine. I don't. Usually, when people are like really kind, I'll send like a little DM just to let you know I appreciate you. Let's see here. What was I gonna do? Of course, of course. All about kindness and consideration around here. Where did I put those? I have some pictures that I'd like to draw today. Don't remember where they are. Well, it's really nice to have somebody to talk to, at least the beginning of the stream. These are probably gonna be thumbnails for... I've been meaning to make some thumbnails for some VODs, for my YouTube channel. Yep. I'll probably have some, I have a playlist here. I'll pull it up while I look for the pictures. Just some art appreciation videos I like to watch. For inspiration, of course. Well, I also use MS Paint. I just sort of stylize it though. I don't do a lot of picture editing or photo editing. Just sort of like drawing. But yeah. I just like having some unique thumbnails for VODs. So that I can kind of compile them so you know what to look for. I only really have one VOD, like one group of VODs out right now, but that's what this stream is for. Let's see here. Right. What? Did I delete it? Okay. I know Nerdwriter has a couple. Oh, yeah. I was, playing more of Another Crab's Treasure, and then I started, what's it called? Lies of P. Really good game. Both of those Souls-like games. Lies of P is a little more darker, fits more of the Souls-like, genre. Oh, this is the wrong one. Lies of P, not peas. It's a pun. It's Lies of Pinocchio. The peas did nothing wrong. Yes. Yes, of course. Pinocchio, the liar. It's like really like edgy, like Tumblr Pinocchio. I think it's great stuff. It is very, very cool. Very cool. In my opinion. I didn't play much of it. I haven't gotten to a boss yet, but I did get to the first bonfire. So, the first checkpoint, you could say. I haven't seen this one. Start with that one while I amass a list.
I do not know this god.
What a thing to hear in the background. Here we go. I'm pulling up. YouTube auto plays videos once you click on them. And I have to click on it to put it in picture-in-picture. Oh wait, I don't need to put it in picture-in-picture. I'm stupid. True. Where's that damn thing? I got so many little, like, things to click on in OBS. There it is. Alright, here we go.
I do not know this god. Neither will I let your people go.
Ramesses, please, you must listen.
I will not be the weak link.
In 1994, an embittered Jeffrey Katzenberg resigned from the Walt Disney Company after being passed up for a promotion. Planning to spite his former colleagues, Katzenberg co-founded a rival animation studio and began producing what he hoped would be the future of animation. That project ended up being 1998's The Prince of Egypt, and it was a wild success by every metric, except the only one that mattered. Before we race into today's video, please be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Nerdstalgic so you don't miss our latest releases. When Jeffrey Katzenberg co-founded DreamWorks Animation alongside David Geffen and Steven Spielberg, the goal was not to copy Disney. In fact, the goal was to upstage them. At the time, this seemed like a futile effort. Disney had comfortably monopolized the market for animated feature films, and trying to face them head-on was tantamount to corporate self-destruction. Still, Katzenberg and his peers were adamant. They saw Disney's resistance to more somber, serious storytelling as a critical missed opportunity, one that DreamWorks would gladly take advantage of in their stead. But being taken seriously would be a hard-fought battle. A majority of Western audiences tend to view animation as an art form strictly for children. In the late 90s, after living through the golden era of Saturday morning cartoons and the Disney Renaissance, that attitude was even more pervasive. So, though they had successfully poached a significant amount of Disney's top talent and had the
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it is a very well animated film. But I don't know. I guess we just kind of. It is an interesting movie. I haven't seen this video yet, so this isn't like a pre-watch, but I don't really know. It's definitely not. It's like a niche movie. Not many people know about it. Most of the people that do just really like it for the animation.
The backing of a literal billionaire in Geffen, DreamWorks was an underdog. They had decided the best way to tackle this David and Goliath story was with a different biblical tale. Originally, Katzenberg wanted to do an adaptation of 1956's The Ten Commandments for Disney, but his idea was shot down during his tenure at the company. Fittingly, a story based on the Book of Exodus was the very first thing that DreamWorks greenlit. According to director Brenda Chapman in an interview with A-Frame, Katzenberg wanted The Prince of Egypt to look as if it were drawn by French illustrator Gustave Doré, painted by famed impressionist Claude Monet, and directed by Dave Lee. Essentially, Katzenberg wanted a high art, adult-oriented tale of inconceivable scope, and that's exactly what he got, though it would take 4 full years of development to get it right. In the meantime, Katzenberg had fast-tracked the production of Ants to beat Disney's A Bug's Life to theaters, earning the fledgling studio nothing but petty satisfaction.
Not gonna lie
because
though,
just
I watched
2 months
Ants
later,
more than
on
I ever
December
did The Bug's
16,
Life.
1998,
But that's because The
a
Bug's
real
Life was more
masterpiece
depressing
premiered.
than
An
Ants.
unreal level of love and attention went into the finer details of the
Ants is weird though. It's just a weirder. Like despite it, I say that A Bug's Life is depressing, but Ants just like people die. Like they make a Saving Private Ryan joke, or somebody's like guts are out, or like the general of the army's head is still alive. Like I don't know. I guess the action was what I liked more from Ants. Because A Bug's Life was just kind of like, oh, wacky, kooky characters, and then they get into shenanigans, but the villain was always like really like oppressive. Ants is just weird. It's so weird. For me, it's just like as a child, I was more. It was easier to tackle subject matter of like war than it is like oppression from like a more powerful group, you know. It's more digestible for children. But I'm still a Pixar fan through and through. I love Toy Story a lot. Honestly, watch Toy Story more than A Bug's Life or Ants because it's just a far better movie. But it does hit that niche for me of like tiny creatures that exist in the world of like large humans. Like
The Prince of Egypt. It made great strides in the medium of animation, blending hand-drawn 2D artwork with CGI, which, in some cases, took literal years to realize. The 7-minute sequence where Moses parts the Red Sea took 22 artists a total of 3 years to complete. The combination of computer-generated elements against hand-drawn scenes felt more natural than anything Disney had attempted up to that point. And the transition to a hieroglyphic art style as Moses learns the truth of his parentage remains one of the most memorable scenes not just in this movie, but in all of 90s animation. And while the look of the movie was certainly its biggest draw, it was only a single thread in the Prince of Egypt's tapestry. The script, written by Pocahontas' Philip Lezebnik, is a masterwork in adaptation. It departs just enough from both its biblical and theatrical source material to feel like it stands on its own. The choice to humanize Ramses and focus on his relationship with Moses made him
Yeah. I'm being under like smaller, you know, like the size of an ant is just such an interesting point of view. Like you see the infrastructure of humans, and the tiniest thing, like a water bottle, is a towering object in at the perspective of an ant. You know, other bugs like tower, like in ants, you saw like wasps versus the size of an ant, and it's just like, well, that's just another bug, but that thing is ginormous compared to this small ant. Osmosis Jones is a little further into what I like, because Osmosis Jones is like the molecular level of like a single-celled organism. I like when it's just like a small being that you could see with your eye, you know, like an ant or some sort of small insect. Anything that you're like about the size of an insect, I really enjoy. Perspective-wise, I just think it's cute. That's why I really like Another Crab's Treasure right now. It's kind of fits.
an incredibly compelling antagonist. The darker tone meant the story never shied away from showing us the atrocities at the center of their conflict, and the Prince of Egypt refused to soften the blow. There were no talking animal sidekicks, no innocent young princesses in need of rescue, and no slapstick comedy gargoyles to cut the tension.
Do you mind? I would like to have a moment with the boy, if it's all right with you.
Hey, quit beating around the bell tower. What do we gotta do? Paint you a fresco?
And then there's the soundtrack. With songs by Steven Schwartz and a score by Hans Zimmer, the music perfectly fits the epic scope of the movie. And while most of them didn't sing their musical numbers, the voice cast still boasts an impressive list of household names. Val Kilmer brings a gentle strength to Moses, and Ralph Fiennes does an excellent job conveying the burden felt by his foster brother, Ramses. Helen Mirren and Patrick Stewart are both fittingly regal in their royal.
I watched Osmosis Jones recently, and it's really cheesy creative. I don't know. I mean, Osmosis Jones is fun. I kind of saw like a D&D campaign based off of a similar concept of like being inside a body, and I thought that was really well done. I think the concept is kind of interesting of like a whole world of organisms that like live. The animation is very interesting. It's very good. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. The villain is really cool. Like, I mean, when we think of like Tumblr daddies, I'd say that villain is one of them. Just smooth, charismatic, but with like this evil, poisonous view. I don't know. It's interesting.
Roles, and the rest of the cast is just as stacked, with the likes of Sandra Bullock, Jeff Goldblum, Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny Glover, Martin Short, and Steve Martin. We're gonna take a quick break from this video to chat all things CyberGhost VPN. So, as someone who obviously consumes a lot of streaming content, there are many times where I've used public networks and felt unprotected. Data breaches and malware infections are always one click away from making you lose important data. With CyberGhost VPN, you can finally put your mind at ease and shield your identity. CyberGhost transmits your data through a secure encrypted tunnel, giving you a high level of online anonymity and military-grade security. The best part for me is that it doesn't cause me to fall behind in speed or responsiveness. Plus, I can overcome blocked online libraries of over 40 streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and more. So you can just change your online location in just a few clicks and get 40% more content from your streaming service. CyberGhost VPN is compatible with most operating systems, including Windows, Mac OS, Linux, iOS, Android, smart TVs, and even gaming consoles. With more than 38 million users, an excellent rating on Trustpilot, and a price of just $2.03 per month, plus 4 months free, it's simply one of the best VPN service providers that helps you and your data stay protected.
Basically.
So click the link in the description and use this special discount CyberGhost VPN granted specifically for
hit it right on the
nostalgia
head.
to
See, you
protect
do
your
know. You
data.
do.
It's a 45-day money-back
It's just a
guarantee
specific
and
type. It's
24/7
just a
customer
specific
support, so everything is
type of
risk-free.
character
And now,
that-
back to the video.
that
All in
website
all, The
loves.
Prince of
So
Egypt
just
was a
specifically, I don't know.
triumph. It just took audiences a minute to realize it. The film's box office opening weekend was a major disappointment, making only
it's
$14
kinda
million
similar.
off an
Kind of a
estimated
similar,
budget of $70
group.
million.
Except
As
Tumblr,
one
I
New
would
York Times
imagine, is, like,
article put it in December of
a little
1988,
younger
whether
than
it was a
most of
matter of
those women.
misjudging the public's appetite for a serious animated film during the holiday season, or simply running into heavy competition that may be fragmenting the audience, or perhaps even exposing new fault lines in the animation market, Mr. Katzenberg and DreamWorks have found that it is not easy to out-Disney Disney. However, thanks to word of mouth, the good news spread quickly about the artistry behind The Prince of Egypt, and by the time it left theaters, it had grossed over $218 million.
My Tumblr daddy? I don't know if I have one. Kind of difficult. There's a few good ones. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really into like Tumblr daddies. They're just kind of, they're a little too edgy. Yeah. I like a kind. Oh, where's the slang term for like pick me boys or pick me girls? You know, just random kind, like weirdly too nice people. Kind of, I like that more than the edgy Tumblr dad. I think those are more interesting of a character than some, like, what's it called? Yeah, like some people that are just like, they're so nice that they'll foam at the mouth from just all the kindness and excitement they have for the world. I like that. I think that's cool. I think that's interesting. I don't know if you know what I mean, though. Yeah. Yeah, they're cool, they're cool. It's like a level of crazy. Just like an interesting level of crazy.
Making it the most successful non-Disney animated feature ever made at the time. Unfortunately, this love from general audiences didn't translate to critical reviews though. While its stunning visuals and voice talent were met with unabashed fanfare, some critics
best thing
believed
about
the
those people
tone to
is
be
they
either too
fucking
serious or
go out of
too
their way to
polarized,
protect you.
citing things like the opening sequence
Especially
about
someone
the
like me,
mistreatment
I
of
mean.
slaves juxtaposed with a whimsical chariot race. Despite these dissenting opinions,
I
The
wouldn't
Prince
say
of
I am one
Egypt
of those
did
people.
go on
I'd
to win an
definitely say I'm
Oscar for Best
more of
Original
a-
Song with When You Believe, and was nominated for Best Score.
The-
It was
the
the first
stereotypical
non-Disney
artist
animated film
type.
to win an Academy Award, as
Starving,
well as the first ever animated film to be
unappreciated.
directed, at least in part, by a woman.
Dying
So that's it,
from
right?
lack of
Katzenberg did what he set out to
communication
do.
or human
With all this
interaction.
fiscal and artistic success, Katzenberg proved to the world that animation as a medium can be used to tell serious stories for an older audience and delivered the killing blow to Disney, right? Obviously not. Remember that the Oscar that The Prince of Egypt won was for Best Original Song, not for anything to do with its animation or story. While any accolade of this magnitude is something to be proud of, the Academy has been handing out Best Original Song awards to Disney movies since 1940. Being the first non-Disney animated feature to win is significant, but it wasn't exactly breaking down cultural barriers the way Katzenberg had envisioned. After
No? That's probably just, that's just Twitch's service. Sometimes Twitch, it's a little slow. I remember that happening when I'd, like, watch. Yeah, like, it's just sometimes Twitch videos just buffer. It's just, just the thing of like streaming a video live is always going to be more difficult than watching a video that's been recorded and uploaded.
After award season was over, most people quickly forgot about The Prince of Egypt. Tarzan and Toy Story 2 came out of Disney and Pixar the following year, taking up all the space in the animated market.
Plus, my
and
computer
adding
is
insult to
plugged
injury,
directly
since both
into
were
my
fairly
Wi-Fi
standard
router,
kids
so
flicks. Then, in 2000,
no-
DreamWorks abandoned their pursuit of serious art
Yeah.
in favor of beating Disney to the punch yet again, with Road to El Dorado as an answer to Disney's Emperor's New Groove. And neither of them performed well at the box office.
I'd say
DreamWorks'
Road to El
next
Dorado
critical
is
and
more
commercial
iconic than
success
Emperor's
would
New
be
Groove.
2000's Chicken Run, which, while excellent, was a far cry from the adult-oriented grandeur of The Prince of Egypt. As time went on, Katzenberg's pet project only became less relevant in modern pop
Dorado is very
culture.
fun.
His dream of legitimizing animation in the eyes of older audiences was dying, and the final nail in the coffin would be hammered home by DreamWorks itself. After releasing a failed direct-to-video sequel to The Prince of Egypt, the next property to come out of DreamWorks Animation
No.
would permanently alter the company's place in
Oh,
the industry,
no.
just not in the way Katzenberg might have hoped.
Some of you may die,
Hey,
but it's a
Di.
sacrifice I am willing to make.
2001 Shrek
We have a
is,
video
by
on
all
this
accounts,
actually in
a
the
cultural
playlist.
touchstone. Making nearly $500 million at the box office, this gross-out parody of all things
That's
Disney
crazy.
gave rise to an expansive franchise and created a meme culture that keeps it relevant more than 20 years later.
The Muffin Man?
More importantly, it was the first ever recipient of the newly created Best Animated
Shrek is
Feature
a
category
fever
at the
dream.
Oscars,
It
beating
is
out
a-
Nickelodeon's Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius,
Oh,
and Disney
poor
Pixar's
Jimmy Neutron.
Monsters, Inc. So DreamWorks did make history. It did help to
That's
legitimize
crazy that it
animation
beat
as a
Monsters,
medium
Inc.
in the
That's
minds of
actually
the
crazy.
public. And it did alter the
I don't know which
cultural
one I like more. I
perception
think
of
I like them
Disney's
both the
specific
same.
brand of storytelling. But it did it with fart
20
jokes and
years
talking
of
animals.
Shrek.
The exact opposite of what Katzenberg was
20
hoping to
whole
prove
years
with
of
The
that
Prince of
fucking
Egypt.
green
And
menace.
that's why The Prince of Egypt was ultimately a failure. It didn't turn the tide of the industry, it didn't hurt Disney as a brand, and it didn't have the staying power of a big green Scottish ogre. Even today, it stands at number 7 on Ranker's fan-voted list of the best DreamWorks animation movies. Luckily, The Prince of Egypt is still exceptional, and it has seen a resurgence in popularity in recent years. More and more people are pointing to the film as an underrated or forgotten gem and finally giving it the credit it deserves. So while it may have failed in the short term, there's still time for The Prince of Egypt to be redeemed in the eyes of the industry. Don't forget to click on the description link to get CyberGhost VPN's special discount.
The fuck?
Protect your data while you browse and get full access to all blocked content on the internet for $2.03 a month only. Check it out. Link in the description.
Okay. I have to switch over to the actual playlist now. I was amassing a number of videos to watch while I figure out where all my all the photos I wanted to watch was. The ad or the ad I felt was out of place. Yeah, the ad is weird. Some of you may die. Well, YouTube has a playlist feature where you can like put videos in a queue, which is always nice. I just do that from time to time. Let's see here. Oh shit.
Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice
Another one from
I am
Nerdstalgic.
willing to make.
This is Lord
Put it on
Farquaad.
shuffle, so we
While
should
he
get
may
a
seem like
good
just
mix
another
of
unserious
different
character
videos.
in an animated kids movie, there's more to him than one might initially believe. Every aspect of Farquaad was crafted with meticulous
Yeah,
intent,
nah,
from his
sometimes I stop,
insidious
usually 'cause
worldview
it's
to his
the videos
perfectly
I watch are,
maintained
like,
castle. Farquaad is a much more compelling villain
long,
than he has any right to be.
like,
But
almost
perhaps the most
hour-long
interesting
videos
aspect of his
sometimes.
character, and indeed the whole movie, is
20
the
to 30 minutes.
spiteful, real-world rivalry that allegedly motivated it.
What do you mean? Well, the whole thing of the whole wait, anticipated in a Shrek animation? What do you, which, like what Shrek animation? What do you mean? Not in Shrek though, right? Like they. I would hope not, Shrek.
That!
Oh no.
It's hideous!
Oh, that's not very nice.
It's just
Just
a
a
donkey.
donkey.
But before we get into the details, be sure you like this video and subscribe to Nerdstalgic if you're into deep dives like this. At this point, we can all agree that DreamWorks' Shrek is more than the sum of its earwax-laden parts. Based very loosely on a book of the same name, this gross-out kids movie could have very easily crashed and burned. Against all odds, it turned out to have heart. Not unlike the swamp-dwelling ogre himself, its message of acceptance and authenticity rings
I always
as
thought
true
the
today
mud
as
that
it
he
did in
showered in
2001.
looked
And its
looked
obvious parody
cool.
to the Walt Disney Company is still relevant and funny. The movie opens with our protagonist using Disney's tried and true
Literally
storybook formula
wiping
as
his
toilet
ass with
paper.
it.
And things only ramp up in aggression from there. The sorts of fairy tales Disney bases their movies on are purposely mocked and mishandled in Shrek. They're even made out to be the butt of racy jokes.
Although she lives with 7 other men, she's not easy. Just kiss her dead, frozen lips and find out what a live wire she is.
If you're wondering why so much effort was put into this extended bit, it all has to do with what went down at Disney in the early 90s. Due to some bad blood between Jeffrey Katzenberg and Disney's then CEO Michael Eisner, Katzenberg was passed up for a promotion at the company. In response, he left to
Get some
co-found
more here.
DreamWorks in 1994. Shrek was, in essence, a way for him to stick it to his former bosses. As the producer, he was able to unsubtly tell the world what they really thought of Disney, and nowhere is that more clear than with the movie's villain. Lord Farquaad is a joke, there's no denying it. He is almost certainly based on Michael Eisner, though DreamWorks' marketing chief vehemently denied it in a 2001 Chicago Tribune article. His name is supposed to sound like a not-so-PG insult,
Farquaad.
and even the character's short stature is purportedly a dig at something the 6'3"
didn't
Eisner
know.
once said about Katzenberg, who was 5'4", cementing the idea that this was just a juvenile feud between two people looking to insult each other.
Men of Farquaad stat.
Oh yeah, the Shrek redraw. Well, I would imagine times. I don't know if I'm gonna click on that. Honestly, I don't think I want to watch that. I've seen the Shrek redraw though. I didn't know that Chris Chan was a part of it.
Terrarian short supply?
And before we even meet the man, we are shown the impacts of his newly instated initiative to clean up the land of Duloc. A mob shows up at Shrek's swamp with literal torches and pitchforks looking to capitalize off of Farquaad's offer of gold for the capture of fairy tale creatures. We later see many of these disenfranchised creatures being caged and carted away by indifferent knights as they openly sob and beg for mercy.
This cage is so small.
Please don't turn me in. I'll never be stubborn again. I can change. Please give me another chance.
Oh, shut up.
While there are some clear authoritarian themes on display, the scene can also be read as a gag on Disney's apathy towards the public domain fairy tales they essentially hold hostage under their branding. Of course, it's played for laughs since this is a kid's
You know nothing about him. The only reason I know about the only reason I know about Chris Chan is because of the meme of Chris Chan. And I watched a YouTuber that talked about Chris Chan a lot.
movie. Still, the content of the scene is brutal, and it's all happening at the behest of Lord Farquaad.
By the order of Lord Farquaad, I am authorized to place you both under arrest and transport you to a designated resettlement
Facility?
His introductory scene walks a similar tonal line, and it does an exemplary job of demonstrating what kind of villain we're dealing with. We're shown the grim interrogation of the gingerbread man at the hands of Farquaad, and we aren't spared any of the gory details. The low angles, dramatic lighting, and uncanny early computer animation make for a genuinely upsetting combination. And yet,
I like
it's
how
all still
uncanny
rendered
this
comedic
scene
through
looks like
various
that.
lighthearted gags. John Lithgow does an incredible job bringing both humor and gravitas to Farquaad's lines. It's not easy to be taken seriously when quoting children's rhymes.
Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. You're a monster.
Gingy sounds believably distressed when he's being dunked into a glass of milk or threatened with the removal of his gumdrop buttons, and his desperate "no" when he's being thrown into the trash has been burned into the brains of many young viewers. This scene is also where we learn the why of Farquaad's evil plan. He sees fairy tale creatures as deviant monsters who take up valuable space in his otherwise perfect world. He wants to eradicate them from existence, which usually means rounding them up and exiling them to distant lands. Though he's not opposed to sending his lackeys to end their lives when he deems it necessary.
Knights, new plan. The one who kills the ogre will be named champion. Have at him!
In his quest for perfection, he also seeks an equally perfect bride so he can finally become King of Duloc. This is a man who wants peace and order by any means necessary, and he believes those means are justified because he has sufficiently othered an entire group of people. He, his subjects, and the authority figures under his rule all believe the lie that fairy tale creatures are lesser and undeserving of basic rights. This is a harrowing prospect, and it's where we start to see the seams between the two separate halves of Farquaad's character. There's the jokey Eisner proxy, and then there's something else. Later, when Shrek and Donkey finally make it to Disneyland, Duloc, we're treated to the best example of how the movie merges its lighthearted jabs at Katzenberg's former workplace with its more serious, villainous undertones. Farquaad's castle is stark white, totally symmetrical, and massive.
Do you think maybe he's compensating for something?
His flower beds are precisely manicured. He pumps pleasant background music out into the streets. There's even a shot of a ladder and paint buckets to indicate that he's in the process of making all the buildings look cohesive. Everything is in its rightful place. The tongue-in-cheek references to the Disney theme parks keep the moment light and funny. Everyone remembers the big-headed mascot that runs through the queue and the hilarious spoof on It's a Small World. Yet, when you stop to think about Farquaad's need for complete and total control, along with the atrocious acts he's willing to commit to acquire it, things start to get a little messy. He becomes less like a silly stand-in for an ex-coworker and more like a proper villain. By this point in our story, we've seen what Farquaad's laws do to fairy tale creatures. We've seen him participate in the torture of a prisoner, and now we're finally seeing his definition of perfect. Farquaad hasn't achieved peace, but rather domination. His version of order is rigid and oppressive. This supposedly unthreatening man the characters are meant to point and laugh at has successfully turned his kingdom into a dictatorship. The risk of him gaining even more power is real and worrying. The unassuming sheep's clothing he adorns himself with only makes him that much more terrifying. These are some intensely heavy themes to throw at a joke character in a kid's movie, but Shrek experiments with the boundaries in a a tactful way. Especially when you consider that the movie also includes fart jokes and a romantic subplot between a donkey and a dragon.
He owns an entire kingdom.
Physical relationship.
He has a military. I don't think there's any Shrek.
A commitment of this magnitude.
It's true that the characters in Shrek often find themselves in absurdist territory, but Farquaad is not exempt from this. In more recent years, he's been turned into a meme, and so we tend to overlook just how menacing he is on a base level, mirroring how the characters in universe also don't take him seriously. This is further proof that the DreamWorks team knew what they were doing. They successfully walked the line. While Farquaad may just be a vehicle for Katzenberg's petty revenge on the surface, once you start peeling back the layers of the onion, there's an unexpected rot at the center. And that's why, even after over 2 decades, Lord Farquaad is still a great villain. And well, that's all we have for you today. If you are still here, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Nerd
Although they have made
so you
better
can stay up to date with all our
villains
latest
since then, which I think
releases.
is a good
And let us
sign.
know in the comments, were you afraid of Lord Farquaad as a kid?
DreamWorks. I was never afraid of Lord Farquaad. I was always afraid of how Farquaad died, though. Oh, hell yeah. Classic video. Me when blood gets hungry.
What's the scariest
That's not
painting
me.
in art history? There are some strong contenders, like The Judgment of Cambyses by Gerard David, Hieronymus Bosch's rendering of Hell, Henry Fuseli's Nightmare,
That one's my favorite.
and Edvard Munch's The Scream. But there's only ever really been one painting that has seriously disturbed me. This one. Francisco Goya's Saturn devouring his son. What you're seeing here is the legendary Spanish painter's depiction of the Greek titan Cronus, who after usurping power from his father was told a prophecy that one of his own sons would do the same, usurp him. In order to prevent this, every time his queen Rhea bore a child, Cronus would eat it. Unfortunately for him, in the end, Rhea conspired to hide away their youngest son, Zeus, who eventually fulfilled the prophecy, exiled his father, and ended the reign of the Titans. The story is a well-known Greek myth, but look at how Goya handles it. Some key changes jump out right away. First, in the myth, Cronus devours his children by swallowing them whole. In fact, they remain alive in his stomach. Goya's painting is a much more gruesome affair. He takes some inspiration here from Peter Paul Rubens, a Flemish Baroque painter who depicted this same event as well. In Rubens' Saturn, the Titan seems to be sucking the life force from his child. Even for such a terrifying subject matter, Rubens displays all the drama, richness, even beauty that marks the Baroque style he helped to make famous. In Goya's version, that beauty is gone. We're left with a frightened, crazed monster discovered in the dark as if by some explorer with a torch who wandered into the wrong cave. Saturn, Cronus' Roman name, has already chewed off the head of his child. His black mouth opens around the elbow of the left arm, ready to bite it off at the joint. His angular body is crouching in an awkward position. His hands dig into the spine. Blood runs down his child's arm and neck and shoulder, a startling primary color. And if we take a closer look, we notice that this is not a child at all, but one of Saturn's kids grown up. There's something even more terrifying in knowing that the victim knew what was happening and tried to fight back. But what's most disturbing of all, I think, is when and where this painting was found. Late in his life, Francisco Goya purchased a house on the outskirts of Madrid called the Quinta del Sordo, or the Villa of the Deaf, after its previous owner. An interesting coincidence, since by that time in his life, Goya was deaf too. His physical and mental health declining, Goya painted 14 murals, often referred to as the Black Paintings, directly onto the interior walls of his home. Saturn devouring his son was in the dining room. The photographs you're seeing now were taken over 50 years
He said,
after
I want to
that
see that shit every
Goya
time I
never
fucking eat a
mentioned
loaf of
the
bread,
paintings
bro.
himself. He never intended for anyone to see them. To this day, people still puzzle over the meaning of the Black Paintings. Why was Goya creating these pessimistic and fantastical scenes in the solitude of his home? To understand this, it might help to go back through Goya's career. He grew up in Zaragoza, Spain, the fourth of 6 children in a lower middle-class family. By all accounts, he was a light-hearted and joyful kid as he studied painting in Zaragoza, Madrid, and Rome. His first serious job was at the Royal Tapestry Factory, where he created tapestry cartoons to adorn the palaces and stately homes of the city. These tapestries take their cue from the Rococo style, elegant, playful, light scenes of both nobility and peasantry enjoying the normal activities of their day. Goya eventually became the court painter for King Charles IV, a disappointing monarch, unlike his father, Charles III, who was beloved by the people for enacting reforms that began to bring secular Enlightenment values to Spain. In 1793, an unknown illness left Goya deaf. And though he still took commissions from his royal clientele, this disease was a dark turning point in his life and art. You can see it in Yard with Lunatics from 1794. Bodies grapple and cry out in anguish. The difference between this and the tapestry cartoons is shocking. His hearing gone, Goya began to see the country around him with a grim clarity. In a series of etchings called Los Caprichos, or The Caprices, he sends up a Spanish culture that is both tragic and comic. A student of the Enlightenment himself, Goya sees the country backsliding on the road to modernity. The king is withdrawn, and the people are superstitious and too stupid to know what they need. You can see him fusing all the corners of his imagination. The quest for anatomical truth, the need for social critique, and an obsession with beasts and creatures. It's all summed up in this one, aptly titled, "The Sleep of Reason Produces Monsters." In the following years, things got worse for Spain. Napoleon invaded the country and brutally massacred those who resisted his campaign. Goya was witness to the bloodshed, and it affected him deeply. His painting on the subject, the 3rd of May, 1808, is a revelatory depiction of war, resistance, and brutality. Before this, war was a highly composed, theatrical subject in painting. Here, Goya gives nothing but brute force, its emotion unmediated by artifice. It would be 5 years until Spain regained its throne. In the interim, resistors developed the Constitution of 1812, which called for liberal reforms like national sovereignty, freedom of the press, and free enterprise.
Oh, yeah.
But on gaining power, the new king, Ferdinand VII, squashed the Constitution right away and arrested those who made it. Goya withdrew, disheartened. The country, which in his youth had reached toward a new world, was now swallowed again by autocracy.
I would say.
Scarred by war, scarred by illness, he began to paint nightmare scenes onto the walls of his home. In one, a young man is being eaten by the father he was prophesying to
Napoleon was
usurp.
just a very smart.
By now, Goya knows progress isn't assured,
Napoleon was just a very
and when it's
smart
defeated,
person.
it's not painless. It's
I personally
horrific
think he's a
and
very
slow.
interesting
The
historical
victim
figure.
can feel it happening. There are a lot of ways that you can read Saturn devouring his son.
But, I don't know,
Maybe
Spain
Goya
has a
was
lot of
trying to
problems,
exorcise the
historically speaking.
demons of his mind, or the demons of his country. Or maybe he was just trying to paint honestly about one terrifying facet of man's nature, using the skills and techniques he learned and pioneered through a lifetime. The black paintings changed the history of art, but what's maybe scariest of all is that Goya didn't care. He doesn't care how we read this painting, because he didn't paint it for us or for anyone. Saturn devouring his son exists beyond interpretation. It's brute force, horror without mediation. A monster looking out from a dark wall in a dark room. Chewing.
What if you could eat Zeus?
Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. This episode was brought to you by Squarespace. If you want to make a website and you want it to be a really easy process, Squarespace has some beautiful award-winning designer templates to choose from that makes making a website so simple. It's got 24-hour customer service, no upgrades, nothing to Henry Fuseli's Nightmare.
Whoa.
And Edvard Munch's
Whoa. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. Wait, where am I right now? Well, I guess since we're talking
My
about
first book
Nightmare-
of essays is out in hardcover, ebook, and audiobook, which I read. If you like The Nerd Writer, I'm pretty confident you'll like this book too. Check it out. Now,
Check out Nerd Writer.
enjoy the... Who did
I love
that?
Nerd Writer.
Hello? Hello?
He doesn't make too many videos, but when he does,
In
they are
1781,
bangers.
the Swiss painter Henry Fuseli painted A Nightmare. Exhibited the following year at the Royal Academy in London, it was instantly popular. In just a few short months, it was engraved, then made
Was that
into
a
prints
Dexter
and
reference?
sent
I don't know.
around
I've
Europe,
never seen
eventually the world, where it had countless admirers. What did people see in Fuseli's dark vision? What is there to see? The Nightmare depicts a woman in a white nightgown, asleep, head
One of
and
my favorite
arms draped
paintings
over the
of all
edge
time.
of her bed.
Henry
Next to the
Fuseli's The
bed,
Nightmare.
there's a small circular night table on which we
Like,
can
this
see a
painting
book,
depicts-
a glass vial, a couple containers, and the edge of a mirror.
This painting
In the upper left, a
depicts,
truly creepy
kind of what
horse
I-
with
what-
white eyes and
what I
pointy
see
ears
when I
poking
dream.
through a red curtain looks in the direction of an imp or a
Wait, what did you say? Hold on, let me read. good, but don't watch her. But it's just like, I don't know, it's just like things in my dream are, it's like, oh, I'll just be like, I don't know, like it's such a simple depiction of what I usually dream, where like I'll be laying in my bed but there's a demon on my chest or something, you know. I'll be walking through the store and some sort of strange event will happen. I'll be talking with my father, and I'll have a comically large bottle of vodka bigger than myself, and I'll be drinking for, you know, like just like something is out of ordinary in a very normal scenario. That's usually. Oh my goodness! Tell me you're a fucking office employee without telling me you're an office employee. Yeah. He's not giggling. He's upset.
Goblin or an incubus perched on the chest of the sleeping woman, looking directly
I'd call him an imp.
You.
I'd say an imp. Looks more like an imp to me.
What are we actually seeing in this painting? What is the perspective? Are we outside the dream or inside it? Is this what we see or what she sees? Fuseli plays it both ways, and that adds a layer of unsettling ambiguity to the painting, which is, after all, what nightmares are all about. The word nightmare is derived from the Old English word mare, the name for a malevolent demon or fiend from Germanic and Slavic folklore that rides on people's chests while they sleep, inducing bad dreams and a feeling of suffocation. Now, this is not to be confused with the word mare, meaning female horse, which has no etymological connection to nightmare, though Fuseli was no doubt aware that the viewer might make that false connection. The painting encourages you to make whatever connections you can. It offers no easy answers, and Fuseli didn't either. One common interpretation maintains that the incubus is Fuseli himself, and the woman is Anna Landholt, who he fell in love with a couple years prior in Zurich, but who married another man with better prospects. Unable to be with her in life, Fuseli haunts his beloved in dreams, dark and erotic dreams. This theory is supported by an interesting fact. On the back of this iconic canvas is actually another painting.
Hey. Come on now. We don't have to use the R word, you can just call him stupid. Come on. I know you didn't mean it. Come on. More of, yeah. Google's weird. Google's a weird company. I don't know.
Painting, an unfinished portrait of a woman many believe is Anna Landholt. Of course, this is just one of many interpretations, and that's really the point. Fuseli, I think, wants you to grasp for meaning, but not to find it. Assigning meaning, after all, is a form of control, something we all try to do with art, something I'm doing right now. But when meaning remains elusive, as it does here, we lose control, and that is what we feel in nightmares. We become vulnerable to the emotional power of the experience. Fuseli heightens this emotional impact in a few ways. First and foremost is the intense chiaroscuro effect between the sleeper with her bright white nightgown and the muted earthy colors of the incubus, the horse, the night table and curtain, as well as the deep black shadows all around them. It's a dramatic composition, made more so.
Once you're above that level, you realize they're either not as smart as you. Oh, yeah. No, it's fine. Just honestly, just don't want that kind of stuff on like my VODs, you know. But it's pretty small on the screen, and my content's usually very adult, so it's okay. that's just a harsher word. You know, I don't really use that word as much. No, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah. I mean, like, that's usually how it goes with like companies where you're supposed to be quote unquote smart to work in it. It's just like, I guess like nepo babies is not really the word, but like corpo babies, you know, like people are kind of born into it, so they kind of just can't afford to be kind of stupid sometimes, compared to people that actually have to work hard to get to those positions.
So by the curtain that isolates the foreground action as if it were on a stage. This reminds me of the work of Caravaggio, master of drama, for whom Fuseli had deep admiration. He too was able to create a sensation of depth with lighting alone, without needing to put in a distant background. The effect of this is that the figures seem to push forward, almost emerging from the frame, which in this case is a frightening prospect. The emotional response you have to horror, that simultaneous repulsion and attraction, is what made The Nightmare so popular. It's also what makes it a key moment in the rise of Romanticism, which is itself an emotional response to Age of Enlightenment ideals exemplified in neoclassicist art. Fuseli was educated and trained in the techniques of neoclassicism, but his sensibility was romantic, even gothic, as it clearly is here. The Nightmare shined a light that in the following decades, Romanticism's great artists like Goethe, Mary Shelley, Byron, and Blake would follow into the dark. That is, after all, where this painting lives, in the shadows of our heart, the fear we have of what might happen. Hey everybody. Thanks for watching. Hope you're having a great Halloween. This episode was brought to you by Squarespace. If you don't know, you can use Squarespace to make websites for anything you might need. Want to make a site for your video content? Well, you can upload your video library directly to Squarespace and even sell access to that content. Or you can use the Squarespace Video Studio app to make pro-level videos within Squarespace and host your content on beautiful pages designed with their easy-to-use blogging tools. Basically, a Squarespace site is going to make whatever you're sharing or selling look professional, and that's going to help you get...
Atlantis is waiting. What do you say?
While it was in production, everyone at Disney thought the 2001 animated adventure Atlantis: The Lost Empire was going to be a huge deal. Before the movie even hit theaters, the House of Mouse went into production on an Atlantis animated TV series, and even initiated plans to retheme a Disney park attraction around it. But Atlantis lived up to its mythological namesake, which is to say, it sank.
Pause for effect. Gentlemen, I'll take your questions now.
But while we're preparing to take a deep dive into the reasons why, maybe take a moment to subscribe to the Nerdstalker channel. Atlantis: The Lost Empire sailed into theaters only to be met by mediocre reviews. It opened number 2 at the box office and would ultimately be deemed a financial disappointment, with even Thomas Schumacher, then president of Walt Disney Feature Animation, ultimately concluding it seemed like a good idea at the time to not do a sweet fairy tale, but we missed. The story found an eccentric millionaire sending nerdy novice cartographer Milo Thatch, along with a crew of unsavory mercenary types led by Commander Rourke.
Mercenary. I prefer the term adventure capitalist.
On a quest to find the lost civilization of Atlantis. The story was packed with underserviced characters, overly complicated exposition, and plenty of long, seemingly pointless action sequences. Critics and fans were mostly just left wondering how it went so wrong.
Thank God I lost my sense of taste years ago.
Well, shortly after the release of The Hunchback of Notre Dame in 1996, that film's creative team, including producer Don Hahn, directors Kirk Wise and Gary Trousdale, and screenwriter Tab Murphy, met to discuss pitching another movie to Disney. Han believed if they wanted to keep their production team together, they had to act fast. So they literally just drummed up an idea that day over lunch. Feeling exhausted by the Broadway musical-inspired formula that had been the heart of almost every major Disney animation released since 1989's Little Mermaid, the team decided to try something different. And despite how many classics Disney was able to produce using that formula, they weren't totally out of line. Eventually, the foursome hit on the idea of doing an animated version of the type of adventure films Walt Disney himself once produced in live action, like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Instead of the fairy tales and songs that had become the norm, the film would be carried by fights and action sequences.
This entire land in Disneyland that's devoted to adventure. It's Adventureland, and we'd made a couple of Fantasyland movies. And we thought, wouldn't it be great to kind of turn left and make an Adventureland movie?
Over that same lunch, the group would come up with a plot they derived by crossing
Dirty Dozen goes to the center of the earth. What if we take sort of a team of hand-picked adventurers and send them on a journey into the earth to find a lost civilization?
Disney bought the pitch, and the potential of Adventureland movies sent ripples of excitement through the studio. While Murphy worked on the script, producers worked on finding a fresh visual style for the film. Production designers eventually settled on a look inspired by comic books, specifically the work of Hellboy creator Mike Mignola, who the team eventually brought on to design characters. Due to a power struggle at the highest levels of Disney that had most executives more concerned with other matters, the Atlantis creative team was given unprecedented levels of creative freedom. In the abstract, that sounds like a good thing. But when Murphy's script came in at an unwieldy 140 pages, and a screening of the first 2 acts in storyboard form lasted over 2 hours, everyone involved realized something had gone wrong. In an effort to focus on narrative, characters were eliminated, as were confrontations with monsters and other action set pieces. The creative team also decided to deprioritize the journey to Atlantis in favor of adding dimension to the Atlanteans themselves, as well as flush out the backgrounds of the mercenaries on Milo's team and his relationships with them. The more character-oriented approach came after they realized that the idea of Atlantis was only so exciting in and of itself. As Han put it, the lesson I learned is that people don't really care about a place, they care about the people. But the lack of a strong story would prove to be just the first bump in the road. Because after production had started, the team learned that the film's budget was being cut. The reduced resources would mean drastic sacrifices when it came to the animation. More action sequences would have to be eliminated, and in other instances, producers had to remove things like shadows from the art so the animators wouldn't have to animate them.
Maybe you're just in it for the money.
Money.
Money. I'm going to say money.
Real-world events weren't helping things out much either. On April 20th, 1999, the Columbine High School shooting would stun the world. The tragedy also gave pause to the team working on Atlantis. The film was planned to have a high body count, and it was originally going to be more severe. Of the tonal changes, artistic supervisor John Sanford would later say, the hard edges got rounded off little by little, just because the company was used to making a certain type of film. And there were certain aspects of storytelling that made people at the time really nervous. With the film's story already in flux, it was decided late in production that the prologue, depicting a crew of Vikings searching for Atlantis and being attacked and killed by a sea monster, needed to be replaced. The creative team felt that the $5 million sequence, which was the first in the movie to be completed, was too focused on the journal Milo would later use to find Atlantis, and not enough on the city itself. It was completely scrapped and replaced by a new opening showing the destruction of Atlantis and introducing the Atlantean character of Kida. Despite the disarray, Disney still expected the movie to be a hit. The company started work towards rebranding Disneyland's famous 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea submarine voyage ride around the new Atlantis movie. At the same time, Disney Television Animation started production on a 22-minute animated spin-off of the film about Milo and his team that was said to be a dramatic adventure show in the spirit of the X-Files. Atlantis, alas, was not a hit.
We were once a great people, now we live in ruins.
In all fairness, by the time Atlantis: The Lost Empire arrived in theaters, the culture was already trending hard towards computer-animated films. Whatever role that may or may not have played, the proposed theme park attraction tie-ins would never materialize, and the submarine journey would instead be tied into Pixar's Finding Nemo. Work on the television series would also be halted, and the 3 episodes that were completed would eventually be released as a direct-to-video movie called Atlantis: Milo's Return, which holds a 24% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Atlantis would later pick up a cult following on home video, but if it had succeeded upon its release, it likely would have pushed Disney animation in a new and more serious direction. But while the studio would eventually find room for darker and more adventure-driven non-musical films like Big Hero 6, the failure of Atlantis seemed to be one that stuck with them. It would be years before they returned to the more Broadway musical-driven format of the Golden Age, but Adventureland movies were over as quickly as they begun.
Let's go over it again, just so we got it straight. You didn't find anything?
Nope. Just a lot of rocks. Fish, little fish.
It's a shame too, because the idea of Adventureland movies is still pretty exciting. And films like Pixar's Up eventually gave us a taste of what a more successful version might have looked like. But whereas Up clearly has a creative spark at its heart, it's hard not to think that Atlantis might have been lacking one. Budget cuts and market shifts aside, so many of Atlantis' major problems feel like they come from the fact the whole thing was thrown together in a day to meet a deadline. Atlantis never seemed to really know what it was about, and in the end, it just wound up feeling like a haphazard mess of cliches in search of a story. The moral, as usual, is that if story and character don't come first, the tale is bound to end in disaster. So, what do you think? Did you see Disney's Atlantis? And if so, do you think it deserved better? Let us know down in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely find others you like if you check out the rest of the channel. As always, thank you for subscribing to Nerdstalgic.
I already saw that one.
I think oral fucks with Tupac or...
What the fuck? That's not at all in the fucking playlist. What the hell? Oh, maybe because I didn't put it in loop video. Damn it.
Fountains, bro. It's crazy.
Oh
the live
my
juice
God.
for Jesus.
Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, this video is frozen.
Be careful what you wish for, Parker.
Hello, Peter. Like a lot of people, I got a jolt of nostalgia from seeing Alfred Molina as Doc Ock in the Spider-Man No Way Home teaser. Part of me resents the way Marvel so easily pushes my buttons with its weaponized intertextuality, but my 15-year-old self was giddy. And I'm glad for that, because the teenage me convinced the 30-something me to rewatch Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, and holy shit, is it great. One scene in particular blew my mind. It's a straight-up horror scene that Raimi snuck into a superhero movie. Of course, that's not surprising for Raimi, whose cinematic roots are in the horror genre with his cult classic Evil Dead movies. But Spider-Man 2 is not horror, and being a big-budget PG-13 studio movie, Raimi couldn't utilize all the gory details from his earlier projects. So, how do you make a bloodless scene genuinely scary?
Anybody here take shop class?
This really is a whole semester of film school in just 2.5 minutes. You learn so much just going through this scene frame by frame. For example, the first shot, which establishes the space where the scene will take place, is incredibly dynamic in the way it tracks backward and cranes up, with tools and people moving into frame, arriving at a composition that centers the scene's main characters, Doc Ock's mechanical arms. Then you have this extreme close-up of an eyeball directly above the blades of a circular saw, which is just uncomfortable to look at. There's a moment of silence that builds the tension, and then the saw restarts with a whine that rises in pitch, building it further. The surgeon begins to cut, but reflected on his colleague's glasses, a mechanical arm looms behind him. The surgeon whips around, the arm lunges, and then we cut to the arm's POV, which goes right into that eyeball from before. This scene is all about establishing the autonomous mind of the arms, which will control Dr. Octavius in the scenes to come, so Raimi gives them a perspective of their own. Now let's take a look at those shots in real time. Okay, that's an awesome sequence of 7 shots, and they work so well because they function as one continuous movement, from the whip turn of the surgeon's head to the snap zoom at the doctor screaming. And it's the same with the sound effects. Not only do they make the visuals more legible, but the isolated flipping sound before and the scream after make the glass shattering more impactful too. And look how Raimi puts a fan on the doctor's hair to make the scream even more blood-curdling. This is controlled chaos. We should feel the terror of being completely at the mercy of these vicious arms, but we should also be able to easily read that mayhem on screen. A lot of what Raimi does to intensify the violence here also clarifies it. For example, after this shot, the lighting in the operating room becomes very dramatic, motivated by the arms knocking all the lights around. But this also helps to spotlight what Raimi wants us to see. This is especially helpful because there are multiple things happening in many of these shots, like this one, where one arm grabs this doctor by the leg, then pushes this doctor into the cart loaded with a squib to, again, intensify and clarify this impact. Or this next shot, where first the man's shadow cuts across the frame, then his body, then the light crashes from above. The arms move like hunting snakes, grabbing people by the head and tossing them like rag dolls. If it looks real, that's because it is. This scene was actually shot a few months before the rest of principal photography. It was supposed to be a test, but when Raimi and the team saw how real the puppeteers could make the arms look, they decided to shoot the scene there and then. I'm sure some of these arms were replaced by CGI, but they're mostly in camera, and you can feel that physicality. Speaking of physicality, is any blood and gore scarier than this?
It really is.
And all it took was some fake fingernails and a wax floor. Raimi pulls out all the tricks, filming this space from every angle, putting the stunt people through their paces, and he makes the genius decision not to score the scene with music. Instead, he leans on the push and pull of sound effects and screams, impressionistically composed. It's a symphony all its own. Listen.
That's crazy. The sound of the guy breathing.
Yes, this is stylized, but it's also disturbing. After all, these people are being murdered in very unpleasant ways. The kids who saw this in theaters, either they were traumatized or they became instant horror fans. The rest of Spider-Man 2 is great, but this scene is a special treat. We get to watch a number of artists, led by Sam Raimi, apply their experience and flex their muscles in a 2.5-minute bloodless bloodbath. We're all nostalgic for a lot of things from our youth that probably don't deserve it, but some things really fucking do. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. This episode was brought to you by Squarespace. If you don't know, you can use Squarespace to make beautiful websites for anything you might need. A personal site, a wedding website, a site for your business or portfolio.
Your hairpiece looks like something that was killed crossing the highway.
This is Jim Carrey in Liar Liar. And of course it is. What else did we expect from him in the 90s? Liar Liar. And of course it is. What else did we expect from him in the 90s, right? But this is...
And not gore. Yeah, Saw is kind of weird. Yeah, classic horror, classic monster flicks. Those are always fun. I was always a fan of Jason Voorhees as a character, Michael Myers, anybody who was the Scream or Ghostface. I'm stupid. The Ghostface is really cool. Nightmare on Elm Street's pretty cool franchise in my opinion.
It's also Jim Carrey in Liar Liar.
I think we've made a big mistake.
Mr. Reed, I am tired.
This man is a good father, and children are not leverage.
Up until 1997, Carrey's performances ranged from unhinged to downright cartoonish. His role in Liar Liar certainly brings a lot of that same energy. But there's something else there too. Something that changed our perspective on Carrey as an actor and shaped his career moving forward.
I have to lie. Everybody lies.
But you're the only one that makes me feel bad.
Low budget. I think that's what adds to the creepy aspect of those old horror movies. It's just, I don't know if a budget they had to try to make something look realistic. That's not the color I wanted at all. When you put restrictions on art, you can sometimes make better art. Yeah, I'm getting a little sleepy. Took my my sleepy medication. Yeah, when you tell people that they can't do something in an artistic sense, it makes the art better to some extent. It's just like you can't really censor art because you're just gonna, someone's just gonna take that, run with it, and then make something that shouldn't be censored. Of course, there's always gonna be like, yeah, exactly, and where would we be as a society without the trollololo? Sometimes it pops in my head, and I can't help but sing it. That's how iconic that song is. Song about taking a walk through the mountains. Beautiful, really. Beautiful stuff. He said trollololo. He said trollolo. Is that the color I wanted? You know that's not the color I wanted. Hold on. I'll unpause the video in a second here.
Liar Liar was marketed as a straight-up Jim Carrey vehicle, complete with all the wild physical comedy and absurd jokes audiences had come to expect from the likes of The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and Ace Ventura. From his stand-up days to his 4-year stint on In Living Color to, The Cable Guy. It was clear by the mid-90s that Carrey was establishing a pattern. But when Liar Liar first hit theaters, it came time to reconsider Jim Carrey's legendary status. No longer just a joke, he showed audiences and casting directors everywhere that he was capable of more than an impressive array of outlandish facial expressions. Instead of opening on a classic Jim Carrey-style gag, Liar Liar starts with a classroom full of children telling their teacher what their parents do for work. Max Reed, played by Justin Cooper, announces to the class that his dad is a liar. When his teacher corrects him and says his father is actually a lawyer, Max then shrugs his shoulders. To him, the two are indistinguishable, especially since being a lawyer means that his father can't fulfill his promise to attend his 5th birthday party. So Max makes a desperate wish on his birthday candles and asks
that for only one day Dad couldn't tell a lie.
And that's where the plot really kicks into gear. The setup manages to add a tinge of tragedy to the overall tone of the film. Playing the dishonest attorney, Fletcher Reed, Carrey is quippy, sardonic, and impossibly energetic, and makes him equal parts likable and slimy. Since the film opens with Fletcher's son rather than Fletcher himself, you're constantly being reminded of that sad little boy while you're watching Carrey goof off and chew the scenery, sometimes literally. It really reframes the film's comedic antics from the get-go and helps to humanize Carrey's otherwise outrageous character. This isn't just Ace Ventura, attorney at law. This is a father who is failing his son and struggling with his recent divorce. He's a man who's out for himself and his career. He doesn't seem to care how many people he hurts along the way, and he desperately needs to learn a lesson about humility, honesty, and family.
You know, this truth stuff is pretty cool.
I love my son! I love my son!
We have screenwriters Stephen Mazur and Paul Guay to thank for this structure and characterization. The writing duo only had one other credit to their name before penning Liar Liar, 1994's The Little Rascals. Though one script was written for children to act out and the other was written for a child in a grown man's body, they both have a similar heartfelt feel. The sincerity of the script is complemented by director Tom Shadyac, who has worked with Carrey before on Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Through that experience, he apparently learned how best to use the actor's abilities in Liar Liar. Take the mirrored sequences of Fletcher arriving at his law firm before and after Max's wish.
Hey, Fletcher.
Which is unfortunate.
Hey, Pete. You losing a little weight? What's up, Fletcher? Your cholesterol, fatty!
The first sequence is much lower energy. Carrey reins in his performance for the slower pace, and the camera follows him around almost lazily as he interacts with his various coworkers. It all feels very loose and relaxed, and yet it's executed with rigid efficiency, similar to the way Fletcher operates as a character. Later on, when Fletcher discovers he's lost his ability to lie, everything feels panicked. Fletcher powers through all the same interactions with his coworkers, except this time, Jim Carrey builds up the energy until it boils over in the iconic pin scene.
I think it's mostly because people just kind of cared less about politics.
During his walk through this office, you might expect the camera work to be chaotic, but it actually stays consistent with the previous scene. That lethargy really highlights Carrey's increasingly frenzied performance. We only start to get odd angles, tighter shots, and quick cuts when Fletcher is alone in his office. And even then, the focus is on Carrey's overwrought acting. Through the language of the film, we're told that this is a man who is totally at odds with the world at that moment. While everything around him remains mundane, he's breaking down. Not only is it hilarious to watch, but it also gives us a sense of where Fletcher is on his journey of self-discovery. There are plenty of hijinks in the film, and they all follow a similar pattern, setting up situations where Fletcher would normally lie, and have him fail spectacularly never gets old, even though they repeat the gag constantly.
It was me!
He pays his penance over and over again, either due to outside influences or at his own hand. And sprinkled throughout are little moments of reflection on the part of Fletcher. After having a monumentally bad day and getting pulled over for changing lanes without signaling while running a red light and speeding, Fletcher's car is repossessed and Audrey has to pay to get it back. What starts out as a fairly tense argument about whether Audrey should take Max to live out of state devolves pretty suddenly. Because he's incapable of lying to others or himself, he comes out with the line,
"I'm a bad father."
Carrey staring off into the middle distance and coming back with a softer, apologetic energy is one of his best in the whole movie.
I'm a bad father.
It's a pivotal bit of development for Fletcher's character, and it helps us sympathize with him as an audience. But it's also the first real glimpse of the dramatic acting Carrey is capable of, something we would see a lot more of in future projects, like The Truman Show and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind in 1998 and 2004 respectively. So, by the time we get our big and completely out-of-place airplane chase in the third act, we find ourselves rooting for him and his family. We can feel Fletcher's remorse when he apologizes to his son for not being there for him.
All this time you've been here, and I could see any time I felt like it, but I didn't. I love you, and I'll never hurt you again.
And that's all thanks to Carrey's charisma and acting chops. Obviously, we know that this man brings physical comedy to any movie he works on. After sitting through the entire bathroom scene, it's impossible to deny it. But those down-to-earth moments, when the script was relying on Carrey to do the emotional heavy lifting, those were definitely unexpected, but not unwelcome. Subtlety and Carrey are not exactly synonymous, and yet he managed to expertly play both sides of the role. When the script called for loud and obnoxious action, Carrey exceeded expectations, and when it called for quiet vulnerability, well, there really was no expectation. It was pleasantly surprising to see the guy behind the mask show some real human emotion. And not just any emotion, a complex cocktail of shame, guilt, and familial love.
I thought I clicked on the right thing and I didn't. This is what happens when you
No one can
stop the clock.
Liar Liar proved that in the right setting and with the right team behind him, Jim Carrey could do just about anything. A solid script by Stephen Mazur and Paul Guay, as well as Tom Shadyac's familiarity with Carrey, made Liar Liar what it is today. And it should be remembered as the movie that showed us that Jim Carrey is more than a guy who talks out of his butt.
Excuse me, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
And well, that's all we have for you today. Thanks so much for sticking all the way until the end of the video. If you liked what you saw, make sure you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to Nerdstalgic so you don't miss out on whatever we release next.
I can work with what I got.
I have truly never been more astounded by the lengths that a villain could go through to achieve such a level of chaos than I have been by reading Nemesis. This guy makes everything that the Joker, the Reverse Flash, and probably what any other villain has done combined look like child's play. It's actually baffling. This guy, who looks exactly like what I'd imagine Batman and Moon Knight's love child to be, is the psychotic lunatic known as Nemesis. And he's exactly that. I mean, in the first pages of his comic, he hijacks the president's plane mid-flight, he kills the pilots, and then proceeds to crash land the plane on top of thousands of people, taking down several buildings, causing as much destruction and chaos as humanly possible. That is one way to start your comic. Nemesis would have the training, the gadgets, and the fortune to become the #1 villain in the world. And when I tell you he makes Griffith look like a good guy, I'm literally not kidding you. He's somehow leagues above him, if you can believe it. And after I read Nemesis's entire reading order, I was left shooketh at the guy's track record. To me, Nemesis is the most vile fictional villain I've ever read. This guy will do anything, and I mean anything, to get his way. He will murder, torture, maim, inseminate, and frame you for meeting minors, all to go according to his own insane scheme for revenge. He is so completely irredeemable that at times while reading I felt like I had to take a break and go take a shower, and I haven't felt that much darkness in me that I had to like wash it away since I watched the movie Requiem for a Dream. So that's a very incredible thing to make me feel so disgusting after reading that I had to go take a shower to wash away all of the horrendous shit that I read. And making this video, I honestly would not be surprised if this video gets like flagged and demonetized just for how crazy it gets, because it's just wild. He'll cross any boundary. Like, virtually any boundary. It's insane. So yeah, let's get into it. Initially, when reading his first series produced by Icon Comics, we are led to believe that Nemesis is also known as Matthew Anderson, heir to the Anderson fortune. The Anderson family smuggled children from the black market and were entirely awful people. Totally opposite of the Wayne family already. Soon they'd be caught red-handed, and not too long afterward, bored under the care of his uncle who now inherited a billion-dollar electronics company, Anderson ran away and traveled the globe to learn the ways of crime. By the age of 12, he was a gang lord. By 15, Asia's largest drug exporter. And at the age of 23, he felt he was ready to start his mother's dying wish. And that would be destroying the clever police officer. At this point in Nemesis's career, he is an expert in all things villainy, always seeming to know what's going to happen next and keeps a step ahead of everyone. Almost like he's similar to another pointy-eared hero we all know. Starting out his villainous career, he'd set out to destroy the lives of several police chiefs as practice before killing the now appointed police chief in Washington, Chief Morrow, the man who condemned his entire family to death. So when the story really begins, it's after a time in Tokyo where Nemesis is committing various acts of terrorism culminating in the murder of its police chief. By having a bullet train run the chief over and explode the tunnel so that it'd fall over thousands of people, causing mass destruction. Yeah, I wasn't kidding, this is how the book starts. After this, Nemesis then turns his attention over to Washington, D.C. and its famed chief of police, Blake Morrow, sending Chief Morrow a calling card stating Blake Morrow, March 12th, at midnight. Flatline still counts. Morrow immediately gives out the order to put his family into protective custody, simultaneously planning ahead for what's to come from Nemesis, because Morrow knows the kind of reputation Nemesis holds. After this, his first act is the hijacking of Air Force One, which he crashes into the city, killing thousands, as I mentioned earlier in the video. Via a hijacked television signal, Nemesis openly declares his intentions toward Washington and reveals he has the president. Following this, he poisons those within the Pentagon and reveals the veritable treasure trove of secrets contained within on the internet, on top of stealing all of the nuclear codes in the process. Striking back at Nemesis, Chief Blake sets up a trap involving a child and her heart transplant. Because Nemesis, the psychotic maniac he is, he just can't help himself but ruin the lives of children when given the chance. So after Nemesis steals the heart for the child's surgery, he goes on a killing spree, making the police force look like grade A fools with a capital F. However, in the process of escaping the police, Nemesis is captured by Blake Morrow, revealing the heart along with the surgery was just a ploy to get Nemesis out in the open. Nemesis was just carrying a pig heart the entire time. To which Nemesis mockingly tells the chief he planned to head for this. Days go by and everyone feels astoundingly safe now that Nemesis is locked up. So much so that Morrow gives the order to have his family come back home. but this doesn't last, because Nemesis doesn't even spend no longer than 15 minutes in prison before enacting the next step of his master plan, hiring people who work within the prison. They release Nemesis, who ends up killing 97 guards and releasing 2,000 inmates into the city. On top of this, Chief Blake discovers that his son and daughter are missing following this, captured by, you guessed it, Nemesis. And in exchange for their lives, Nemesis demands the chief to reveal 3 secrets, to which Morrow reluctantly tells Nemesis for the preservation of his children. Firstly, his wife Peggy had an affair with his former partner. Secondly, his son is homosexual. Thirdly, his daughter got pregnant and had an abortion. These 3 things reveal that Blake is a driven career man and place greater emphasis on that side of his life, neglecting his family. Satisfied, Nemesis releases Blake's children unharmed. However, Blake's daughter is now pregnant by her brother via fertilization of her eggs. And as an added torture to Morrow, Nemesis ensures that if she has an abortion, she would be unable to bear children ever again. At this very moment reading this comic book, I was so viscerally appalled at the magnitude of evil Nemesis was willing to achieve that in truth, I wanted nothing more than to see this dude get murked. Because not only does he commit the most obscene thing imaginable to Blake's children, who are completely innocent and have absolutely nothing to do with this rivalry, but Nemesis also goes out of his way to do the most obscene thing imaginable to them just to fuck with Blake some more. This, you can imagine, creates a rift between Blake and his family indefinitely, and to add the cherry on top, Nemesis also releases to the public what happened to his kids. Now, through an undercover cop implanted in the low levels of Nemesis's organization, Blake leads a raid at the home of Matthew Anderson, who it is hinted was masquerading as his uncle the entire time. However, the mansion is rigged to explode, killing most of the SWAT team. After this, Blake is captured, and Nemesis reveals his best friend of 10 years has been working with Nemesis the entire time, while also dropping the bombshell that he is not Matthew Anderson at all. That's right. The whole vengeance for his parents and destroyed childhood was nothing but a ruse. His whole backstory and motivation was nothing but a character he adopted to better destroy Chief Blake. Nemesis plans years in advance, planting moles and agents throughout the lives and organizations of his targeted police chiefs, confessing to Blake that he's nothing more than an extremely rich man who's just utterly bored and can only seek pleasure from ruining other people's lives. After killing his best friend brutally, Nemesis unveils his grand finale. They are in the Oval Office, and Blake's wife along with the president are both rigged with explosives. And it's here where Nemesis gives Blake a choice. Kill his wife or the president. Blake is torn between the two, but the president makes the choice for him. And this part was hella funny to me, because when the president starts to approach Nemesis saying that he'll kill him, Nemesis in utter confusion is like, sir, I'm not entirely sure where this is going. Are you like an expert in kung fu or something I don't know about? Standing as close as possible to Nemesis, the president tells Blake to detonate his explosive, leading Blake and Nemesis to fight on the lawn on the outside of the White House. Blake manages to dog on Nemesis during the fight, while Nemesis pretty much cries to himself, making excuses like if the president hadn't blown up in his face, he'd be winning this fight right now. To which the fight comes to a close with the two shooting each other at the exact same time, seemingly killing each other. However, the chief survives his injuries, while Nemesis, despite claiming to be too rich to fail, does not. A little detail I'd like to remind you all of too that's a really nice touch to the story is the calling card given to Blake in the beginning stating that he'll die on the 12th and flatline still counts. Because that calling card ends up coming back into play when Blake flatlines on the table for a few minutes before getting brought back. And after this, Blake seemingly gets a happy ending as he devotes his time to his family. After his ordeal with Nemesis revealed to him what was really important. And in something of an epilogue, it is revealed in a card addressed to Blake that a mysterious gentleman runs a business catering to the dark fantasies of bored and wealthy people, giving these people an adventure for a short few weeks every year with artists and engineers working to create supervillainous characters for them to play. Whilst presently focused primarily in the Pacific Rim, a steadily growing client list is set to expand into the West. The letter tells Blake that he is safe from next year's supervillains and commends him for defeating Nemesis, even showing admiration for his choices between family and career. Remarkably too, Blake and his wife are given a bottle of the most expensive wine in the world, which has been waiting for them for 10 years, along with the letter, leaving you to kind of question if Nemesis is really truly dead. Yeah, he's super dead, which means this is the end of the video now. So don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, check out my Twitter, and as always, I'll catch y'all
like, what
on
if
the flip
Batman
side. Psych! Nemesis is back, baby! We got Nemesis Reloaded. because he's reloaded and ready to
That's
refire
weird, 'cause
because he's locked and
I
loaded.
actually
He's hiding
like
under
the
people's
second
beds
one a little
now, cracking
better.
smiles and sticking his tongue out while blowing people up. He's such a silly little goofball.
I like the art
up to
style.
Tons of mischief. This Nemesis story basically takes the things that happened before and reworks those story beats to make it a much more fluid and much better story. Taking things like the Matthew Anderson backstory from the previous story and making it Nemesis's origin among other story beats, which also segues us into this new Nemesis's origin.
Right. I just wish I could like.
Now, who is Nemesis and how did he come to be? Again. Well, it all started with a string of 9 murdered hitchhikers found all over Los Angeles, mutilated, headless, and bug-ridden. An officer named Joe Costello, who's gonna come back later on in the story, among other officers, were hell-bent on finding this killer. And they did on Matthew's 10th birthday, when they beat the shit out of his parents and flipped his entire world upside down. After which he never saw his parents again, because not too long after being in prison, they were given the lethal injection. After this, Matthew was sent to live in a corrupt orphanage where kids were used to serve the mob, leading Matthew to run away and try to make it on his own, picking pockets and living out of trash cans. Until one day he attempted to pickpocket a young lady in a diner, which brought Matthew to an avenue in life he never expected to go down. The young lady, seeing his raw potential, would extend an invitation for Matthew to meet his boss to make serious cashola, but it's a one-time offer. Reluctantly, Matthew accepts and drinks coffee offered to him by the lady, where he next awake to the sounds of chanting and drums, surrounded by several cultists as the leader shouts that Matthew is now in the circle, and if he attempts to leave, they'll set the dogs on him. Throwing down a spear to Matthew, they tell him that to earn his position, he has to prove that he's worthy by killing the opponent beside him. At first, Matthew doesn't seek to kill the kid, but once he realizes that this kid will hesitate to kill him, he fights back until his opponent can no longer draw breath. After winning, Matthew was sent to his next trial. The next trial was in Yosemite Falls, and the challenge was to hold on for 3 whole days without losing grip under a waterfall. Matthew's master during the trial asked what motivates him to continue to survive, to which Matthew would say back that it's for revenge. Revenge on the cops that took everything from Matthew, vowing to his master that he'll kill them all, leading his master to knock Matthew down the waterfall, shouting to prove it then, bringing us to the present day. A man named Jake hears a noise outside of his home. However, when he leaves to go check it out, he finds nothing. But upon entering his home and walking towards his wife Margot, he finds her scared to death, as she tells Jake that he's under the bed smiling from ear to ear. Later on in Los Angeles, a man named Carlos is leaving a club to be chauffeured around the city with his girlfriend. And Carlos is a pretty big player in Los Angeles, leading one of the top gangs in the city. However, that's all about to change as Nemesis glides down from the sky, bursting through the car windshield as he fights his way to Carlos, ultimately capturing him, and zipping off into the night sky. Cut to Carlos, surrounded by at least 50 others blindfolded inside of an in-ground pool. Nemesis then makes his presence known to everyone in the room and announces that he'll be hosting a Fortnite Battle Royale with all the blindfolded people being the involuntary contestants, in which he explains that the only way to get out alive is to kill everyone till there's only one left. And in case if it weren't clear enough, if they also remove the blindfold, they'll detonate a small bomb in their head and... well, I think you can imagine what would happen next. Soon, everyone in the in-ground pool begin to stab one another with weapons provided by Nemesis as a crowd watches on from the sidelines, horrified. Nemesis goes on to say to the crowd while the fighting goes on behind him that he's not here to take over Los Angeles or anything, but rather only hire each member from the crowd for 7 days to settle a score. Going on to say that if they help willingly, they'll be rewarded handsomely, and when Nemesis is done, they won't have to worry about the newly elected mayor promising to clean up the city. Eventually, the Battle Royale comes to an end with Carlos the last one standing, celebrating his victory. But Nemesis just shoots Carlos in the head, and tells his newly hired henchman, let's get started. For over 20 years, Nemesis has been honing his cruelty and skills, and he has planned out virtually everything for his revenge. As Nemesis along with his henchmen raid the Dubois Art Museum, making sure to kill absolutely everyone inside, either by slicing or dicing or dispersing toxic fumes into the air. After which Nemesis and the henchmen begin stealing everything expensive to fund the next step of his plan. This is where another part from the original Nemesis story gets reworked a bit, where before Nemesis originally planned to kill Detective Blake after 10 years of planning, now it's switched to a man named Joe Costello, just elected mayor, who has put over 2,000 new police officers onto the street. He's also the guy who killed Nemesis's parents, so you can guess where this is going gonna go. And in the middle of giving his speech, when he begins to announce the newly appointed chief of police, Wendy Gomez, her body is brought down, dangling high above the stage. Meanwhile, back over with Nemesis after killing dozens of police officers from the museum, Nemesis somehow hacks into several broadcasting channels where he then addresses the people, as he says, "Hello, children. Don't worry. There's nothing to be afraid of. If I wanted you dead, you'd be choking on your guts right now. You don't know me, but I've got such a plan for this place, and in 7 days' time, everything will be clear. Only one thing stands in my way of the scheme, and it's all these extra cops on the streets. So I pulled a $100 million heist this evening, the proceeds of which I'm going to share with all the little people. Are you listening out there? Because this is quite an offer. I'm putting a bounty on the head of every police officer in the city. I'll pay you 10 grand for every dead cop." Nemesis says this as he walks into the crowd of cop cars outside, which he seems to have already blown up with various rocket launchers, as Nemesis then executes a cop on that live feed, going out to everyone. This immediately causes chaos in the streets of Los Angeles as cops are targeted left and right, with even kids gunning for the heads of police officers, jumping at the chance to make 10 grand. As Mayor Joe Costello was thrown through a complete loop on how to even go about stopping Nemesis, while the entire police force is either dropping like flies or quitting. But this brings nothing but pure joy to Nemesis as he watches the man who took everything from him begin to slowly lose it all. However, after the museum fiasco, the man Jake from earlier is just like, "Bro, why are me and my wife here? We aren't criminals." To which Nemesis just shushes Jake and says that they're both a part of the plan and not to worry. Now, cutting through a few minor story beats, Nemesis essentially brings the city to its knees after kidnapping the newly appointed police chief, Reggie, by bursting through his helicopter window and nabbing him. A day goes by, and randomly the next night a distress call goes out over by the waters, so a police unit goes by to check it out, where they find the new police chief, Reggie, handcuffed to the boat, not knowing that it's clearly a trap. As Nemesis sneaks onto their boat, tranquilizing most of the cops except for one. The last cop pulls out his gun aiming at Nemesis, but Nemesis, calm and collected, tells the cop named Eddie to compose himself and aim the gun right between his shoulder blades, allowing Eddie to get used to the rhythm of the water. Eddie asks why he wants to do this, to which Nemesis...
Sorry, we're gonna switch it up here. Might know, but it ain't lack of abilities causing the show. I do run, take a toll for the one, and it's not the fact that you've had no time to rehearse. I know that every move is intended, find ways of protecting your own. You know that so many depended on decisions we never condone. We didn't ask for you to lead us. We didn't want you to be lost. You have done nothing but deceive us. And it is us you're paying the cost. Ooh, 16 colors actually kind of looks nice. Oh no, you lose a little bit of that brightness that you would get from a low fidelity picture, yeah. Yeah, the saturation is very important. Sketched art. I think I just found why everybody likes this app. Silhouette, it's gone. Line art. And that one is not really there. Technical drawing is just a few more lines. We're gonna go with low fidelity, of course. I think you get a lot of bang for your buck with the low fidelity picture. This high fidelity makes it kind of fucks up with the pixels. Like you can see kind of where the pixels used to be. So low fidelity kind of just gets rid of it entirely. Either way, I couldn't really do the thing I wanted to do because I had to work with the whole thing where, like, I forgot to layer the I was drawing directly onto the picture and I couldn't remove the fucking drawing from the picture, so they're just kind of stuck together now. Really sucks. But it's okay, it came out really well. I personally really enjoy this. Dude, this is what fucking AI art wishes it could do. You just can't do it. You just can't. There's just a level of, like, I did this by hand that an AI art thing just can't do, and it looks, it makes it weird. You know, it doesn't match it entirely. And I think that's what fucks it up in the end. But yeah, all this application does essentially is just turn this picture into vector art. If you know anything about vector art, you'll know that it is easy to manipulate this image if I even know how to fucking do it. I know that every move is intended. Find ways of protecting your own. You knew that so many depended. There it is. Yeah. So it essentially turns my pixelated PNG into vector art. And so every little box you see here is a piece, is a line in vector art. And so for the most part, you would have to make something like this, you'd have to draw the line, right? Then you draw this line, you draw this line, you draw this line, you draw this line. This tiny line right here. And then that would create this shape. But with this new technology, you don't have to do any of that. But you also get the added bonus that you can, if you like click the path, you can select individual shapes here and move them around if you really wanted to, of course. See? I can move that out of there and it's its own individual shape. I couldn't do that if it was just a PNG. Very cool. Now, if we really want to go crazy with it, I would take this image, put it back in paint, draw over it again, and then, but that would be like simplifying a simplified image, so it would be almost pointless to do that at this point. If not, like, I think I would do that if I had like a physical human, like a picture of a person. Then I would do something like that. But it's not the fact that you've had no time to rehearse. I know that every move is intended. Find ways of protecting your own. You had so many defended. But no, we didn't ask for you to leave. We didn't want you to be lost. You have done nothing but deceive us, and it is us who pay the cost. What's your motivation? What's your raison d'etre? And any other vacation you should the people you do. Now you make the rules. Now, of course, when you export the image, you can only really websites aren't going to have a section of the website dedicated to vector art. But for the most part, for art like mine, let's say, creating it and making it into a vector art does amplify its how you say fidelity is not the word, the DPI is not the word. The resolution, it amplifies the resolution of the picture. Better for scaling, honestly. A lot of stuff like that. We didn't ask for you to read us. We didn't want you to be lost. You have done nothing but deceive us, and it is us who pay the cost. What's your motivation? What's your raison d'etre? And any other vacation you do. You make the money. I feel tired and it's hurting. Already doing this thing. Why you think I'm still needing running? Telling us the best recipe. I'm looking at the image here. Oh, yeah, if it makes it too big. I think what we should do, right, using this, this as a measurement. You can take a screenshot and crop it. Does expanding it make it easier? No. It does. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna snap a screenshot of this. And it should be the right size for a thumbnail. So I'm going to check it out. Give me a second. Let's go to my channel. It's been a while since I posted, obviously. That's because I finished all the videos of me playing the finals. So, yeah. Oh my gosh, I have so many videos of... Oh, and I have to get the videos from Twitch now. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. Go to video. export to YouTube. Export to YouTube. Yep. Just keep doing that. Export that to YouTube. Export it. Export. Could you imagine if I just started fucking... Oh, that's the one I'm on right now. Okay, cool. So, alright. Most of these are just general gaming videos, right? They're just normal-ass gaming videos. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this brand new thumbnail. Fits like a glove, baby. Oh boy. Oh, that's right, damn it. I forgot. It's cool. I did that with one picture right now. So I've got to add the classics. Where is it now? Here it is. There's Advocacy. We didn't ask you to meet us. We didn't want you to be us. You have done nothing but to see us. I put it in the... That looks like shit. Okay, now we take a screenshot. And then we now go into YouTube thumbnail. Okay, here. I wanna be here, but I don't wanna be the night. Wait, why is this one so zoomed in? It wasn't zoomed in like that, Was it? Oh, I see what's going on. Yeah, I'm crazy. Yeah, it's the same idea. It's just a different aspect ratio for that video. And what is this video about exactly? I'll mute the OpperGX so you don't hear me. Oh boy. Get banned. And I hope you stop what you're doing. It's fucking stupid. So general gaming and chatting videos will use this thumbnail. So if you're looking for like my general just sort of gaming chatting videos, they're gonna have this thumbnail. If it's like a specific game I'm playing, I'll probably make a thumbnail for that game. And then art streams, I have a thumbnail for art streams. So here I'll pull it up because I have to make it for art streams too. Already really wasting. Why you think you're still bleeding when time is desperate to keep. We didn't ask for you to lead us. We didn't want you to be wrong. Oh my goodness. Wait, don't I have the saved version of this, or am I crazy? Hold on, just to make sure I'm not gonna click on anything crazy. not saved it, if that's the case. Damn it. Fuck. Okay, I'm just gonna work on this one. Now I need a video description for fucking gaming. What's a good video description? Like, what's up, fellow gamers? It is I, your favorite video game nerd loser, here once again to share with you my experience in the gaming realm. Enter into a place of imagination, a place of sound and sign, of body. Enter the gaming zone. Like exclamations in it, and then fucking run this through ChatGPT to get fucking good punctuation. So we take this. Right. We got the punctuation. We take this. Cool. Alright, done. Sick. Cool. Find my VODs at... Oh, I gotta put VOD next to it. Save and public immediately. Bam, there it is, folks. It's on the channel now. Go check it out. All my VODs for general gaming will be called this. No numbers. You want numbers? Fucking look at the fucking date it came out and the where it lands on my page. Like what? I guess while I'm on stream, I'll just start setting all this up to auto fucking to just auto upload. We knew that so many depended decisions we never condoned. We didn't ask for you to lead us. We didn't want you to leave us. Wow, crazy. All the descriptions are the same, just the same. This is a VOD channel now. I do not. This isn't YouTube. Sorry. We're gonna schedule this for tomorrow. Yep. 12 a.m. Nah. Oh wait, no, actually 12 a.m. is good because I usually get like people from like out of the US that watch my videos for some reason. I don't know why. It's just like I always get like people that aren't from the United States that watch my videos. It's kind of crazy. So I guess we'll put it to like 1 a.m. Yeah. So that's scheduled. We're good to go there. Moving on from that. I mean, the rest of these are... Wait, is this an art stream? No, it's not. Crazy. Damn it. Shit. expect a bunch of VODs this fucking week. I mean, overall, I can only post fucking 7 VODs in a week, so. Obviously. But you know how it goes. Oh, I know what I need to do. I know what I need to do. I'm stupid. I'm stupid. I'm so fucking stupid. Yeah, I could just do this. Oh my gosh. Public. And then we May 21st. Also at 1. Done. Save. And I'm gonna let you know during the stream how many videos are gonna come out. And it's not the fact that you've had no time to rehearse. Wait, is my... I might just start listening to some music while I do this. The GX is muted, so we're good to go. On the music front. The way that you're behaving is because you lacked love as a child. Your elephants in the room is fed and water when it should have been left alone in the wild. Love for this to not be an issue. I would love to just laugh in your face, but I'm finding it's hard to dismiss you when you're the one running the place. We didn't ask for you to leave us. We didn't want you to be boss. You have done nothing but deceive us. And it is us who pay the cost. Complicated system, I know, but it ain't a lack of ability. Really take this on for the words. Not the fact that you've had no time to rehearse. Move is intended to find ways of protecting your own. And there's so many dependent on decisions we never condone. We didn't ask for you to lead us. We didn't want you to be boss. You have done nothing but deceive us. It is us who pay the cost. There is on death. You make the rules and you break them too. Tired and turning, already really wasting. I think I'm still leading, we're learning. And you're so desperate to keep. We didn't ask for you to lead us. We didn't want you to be boss. You have done nothing but deceive us. And it is us who pay the cost. when you see it for yourself. There's a lady in the lounge wearing Technicolor makeup to make you think you're someone else. You want that good life? We've got a shortcut, so come inside and have a look. You want that good life? We've got the hookup. Come inside, come inside. There's a Neo in the attic with a semi-automatic. Couple getting frisky in the hall. A television in the kitchen that'll feed your children static. When you're lonely, there's a number you can call. You want that good life? Shortcut, so come inside and have a look. Oh, cool, yeah, I get that. So your future is lovely and certain. They will sell you a dream for $1.99. Or they'll make you repay it and call it a crime. We are losing the war with the enemy within us. All the greed that they will devour and kill us. Step on up and step on up and come inside. And approve, and there is nothing you can hide. We've got a shortcut, so come inside and have a look. You want that good life? Got the hookup, so come inside. Inside and get that good life. Fervent counselor of Taylor's ties you were, and cautious care. Upon this autumn morn, your laughter lingers on. Wherever you have gone, I'll see you there. Mountains bow before you. The clouds in the night. You know what I fucking hate? I fucking hate when somebody's... And I mean... Never mind. Not gonna say it. Not gonna say it. I'll keep that to me and my friends. I won't say it. It's nothing offensive, it's just I don't want to hurt people's, like, feelings. Specifically. It was really more of a pet peeve. It's okay. It's okay. I need this on my desk right now. Okay, there we go. Now I've got some room to breathe here. And we've made it past a week of streaming material. Pretty good so far. Expect tons and tons of VODs this month. And maybe a little into next month. Day in the USA. And wasted time running back the radio. Pessimistic, divided American, raised unlimited. Think it's someone, something can get you up. Giving up all. But what about living? What about loving? Thinking of trying. Okay. Let me count how many more I have. Damn. Oh, fuck. Oh, I have enough uploads to get me through half of next month. That's crazy. I've been stockpiling these. Oh my goodness, kid. Have fun with this. With this week and a day of uploads, okay? Holy fuck. And then I need to change I need to change my YouTube link. So now if I click on my YouTube link, it takes me to my page. There you go. So YouTube link's fixed. We're good to go with some uploads. Obviously, there's gonna be a couple uploads this week. Other than that, this week and then up until Monday of next week, and and I'll get back to. I have the thumbnail for most of my VODs. I'm not going to number them because there's no continuity, and I'm not going to give them different titles because there's no continuity. It's just gaming VODs. You get my streams. You're going to get some streams of mine on YouTube for you to watch. Should be good. Let's go, go, go. It's so late. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna pass out in my bed tonight. I'm gonna pass out and not wake up tomorrow. Holy fuck. Close. Alright, I'm done. Going to bed. Thank you for watching. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. And enjoy the music. Bye.